All right.
What's up, everybody?
Okay,
We're back.
I have to share this. Burke and I were both at .NET Conf this week up in beautiful, sunny Redmond.
And then Ignite.
And Ignite, too. I did not make it to Ignite. I was all .NET Conf all week. And Burke runs into me. We're both grabbing a coffee or a Coke or something. And he's like, hey, we streaming Friday? And I'm like, I can't even begin to think about that. And he's like, come on, let's do it. And so here we are.
Like, I got it.
But you got it.
Yeah, I actually did some work like in the last 2 weeks on it. So I don't think you have to watch us struggle less this week, I think, than normal, which is the normal amount of struggle is like
it's an intense amount of struggle.
It is, yeah.
There's some struggling happening.
There was a lot of Blazor at .NET Conf, yeah?
Yeah, there was. So I mean, they talked about the new .NET 8 Blazor model, which is pretty neat. It was first announced as Blazor United, but this is the server-side rendering with the magical transport the WebAssembly bits over WebSocket in the behind the scenes. Like, yeah, so it's the best of both. Like up until now with Blazor, you had to choose. You had to go either I'm going to do a WebAssembly, but I've got like a larger download, right? I've got to download all the binary stuff and I've got the loading thing and all that. Or I do server side, and then server side gives you some benefits because number one, it's really quick download. It's like you just download a shell and then everything is really running on the server. But you have some and you also have the benefit of your code's running on the server, so it's local to the database. It's really easy to. You don't need APIs and stuff like that, right? But the trade-offs to it are like, number one, you're doing all the processing on the server, so you've got your scale issues. And then, you trade off some local performance because, everything's going over the wire. It's all running on the server. So the benefit of the .NET 8 version is that it does both. So the first load, it loads on the server, it does server-side rendering. And then it has a WebSocket connection, sends all the binaries down. And then when it's like, got it on the client, it's like, I got it. And it switches over. So
that's very cool. I've noticed in chat, what's up, chat? Computus, what's going on? What's up, Omer?
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
I did notice that, like, even in the JavaScript world, chat, if you're into JavaScript, I don't know if you've seen this, but things are like moving back to the server. Okay. So I guess we're just going to do this every so often, but HTMX is a big deal, right? There's a lot of controversy about HTMX. If you haven't heard of that, it's essentially a small JavaScript library that does everything on the server, essentially, right? They're encouraging you to do everything on the server. So you return fragments of HTML into your page instead of having the JavaScript do all that.
Yep.
And of course, there's tons of benefits. The one huge drawback that has for me, though, chat, is that the cost of deploying static web apps is literally free, right? Like once you move to a server-side model, you need like an app service. You need a PaaS, right? I don't think anybody says that anymore, but platform as a service.
Maybe, but not. It's kind of a balance, and like if you're doing, depending on your past like setup, it can still be pretty cheap. Like
Yeah, but static hosting is so fast, and it's
yeah.
basically free like everywhere, and that's just really hard to walk away from. But
Mhm.
I did, when we first started this, I really wished we could have used Blazor server, because even I could see the performance differences just like right off the bat, right? Like it just,
Yeah, well, it's the trade-off, right? Because it's the
yeah.
first load. The first load is what you're waiting on, right?
Yeah, it's so, yeah, that first load from the server is like, boom, it's
Yeah.
instantaneous, man. So
there's a good question, whoops, from Nathan here on will we upgrade to .NET 8? I'm sure we will. I was actually tempted to try and do it for today, and I was like, I would mess it up so bad. But the one thing is we can't take advantage of all the new .NET 8 hosting model stuff because we're using static web apps. And some of what I was talking about relies on both the client and server hosting. And we're not doing server-side hosting. So we can take advantage of a lot of new features in the .NET 8 stuff, but not all of it. So there are also some cool new things in Azure Functions, though, and we're using Azure Functions a lot. So I got to chat with Azure Functions folks backstage before they did their presentation. I'm excited. And I don't know if you remember early on, I was like, we got to do this isolated model. Sometimes it's a pain, and it's like sometimes some of the docs are like this integrated and some are isolated. And when I talk to them, they're like all in on isolated, like just do it. That's where we're going. All our investments are there. Like, so anyways, I'm glad that I went with that, because that was kind of what I was reading from the docs, but from talking to them personally, they're like, absolutely, you need to be on.
Thank goodness, because I don't want to refactor those APIs, man. That was not fun.
Yeah, definitely. Now that it's like the code runs, that's part of why I wanted to get testing going. I still want to do that. I want to mess with the testing a bit more so that we can do some more refactoring without breaking too much. But yeah.
All right, I'm going to present my screen.
All right. Wow, it's good to have all our friends here. We got 126 people on. I'm pretty impressed. Yeah, so
nice.
We got a question on Aspire. I'm not sure how much we can directly use Aspire in this, because so I don't know if you saw much about Aspire, Burke. It's just kind of like some of it learns from what used to be called Project Tie. It's great for building like microservices, for stitching things together. It does a lot of like, it can pull a lot of different services and like hosting types and like so you can wire things together really easily. And then it also gives you things like project dashboards, observability, open telemetry, a lot of stuff. I think we are some levels down from that, though. We're not building at the level where we're going to be directly able to use any of that, I don't think, because we're kind of running under Azure Functions and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I don't know anything. That's all over my head.
I've been working on setting up all these sessions and like scheduling everybody. I like every single session that was at .NET Conf, I had at least 2 or 3 emails or chats or whatever with the speaker to get it all lined up. We had over 100 sessions. So I was looking through like Teams. It's just ridiculous,
David Fowler talking about perf is
it's so great.
His brain is just way bigger than mine, man. Like I'm struggling just to understand like the simple stuff, and he's just in there. Like that's nuts. These people that can understand this stuff on that level.
I love it too when David gets like really into something and he goes deep on. He gets a little pissed off about it, right? He's like, it shouldn't be this hard, or why is .NET harder than this other language to do it this way, or why aren't we faster? And then he's like, I'm going to solve this, and he just gets in there. Can I share your screen yet?
Yeah, let's do it. Sorry. What's up, Simon? What's up, love from Nigeria? Thank you. What's up, Janisku?
Yeah, we got a lot of all the regulars here.
Fuel Snable. Hey, listen, Fuel and Janisku, since you're the regulars, are y'all at Ignite? Are y'all coming out to events? We want to meet y'all. Have you met these folks before?
I've met Janisku in person in Finland. and I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, Janisko. I'm pretty sure, and because I did an AI. This was a long time ago. I did an AI like workshop thing at their reactor space when they first opened it, which was pretty cool. And then and Janiska was there, and then Fool Snabble. I honestly, it's just an icon, I believe. I'm not sure if we've met in person.
Yeah, I don't travel. Some of it. We'll come to you. We'll come to you.
Mm-hmm. We got to take the show on the road.
Yesterday, John, somebody saw you presenting yesterday.
Yeah. Funny story. I was actually yesterday morning because I was up late with we do the around the world 24-hour stream. I was up late with that, coordinating with our hosts in China and Korea and Dubai and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if our host in the morning, Maddie, knows that she's supposed to be hosting. I'm like, I don't know if she signed herself. We had to sign up for him. I'm like, I don't know if she signed herself up or I did. So anyway, I'm like, this sucks. And so I got up super early, went in, opened the studio before anyone was there, and was all set up to host. And then Maddie walks in. I'm like, you got it. Yeah.
And have more faith in Maddie.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. All right. So
today,
so we're working on, for people that don't know, we're working on this site, the URL list, which is a site for sharing a list of links. And so you can put a bunch of links in, and then you can pick a URL for it, and then you can share it out. It does some really cool stuff, like create a QR code. You can manage it and update it later. But you originally built this 5-ish years ago with Vue, Azure Storage, Azure front door. Like it was kind of cobbled together, and like now we're rebuilding it with the newest Azure Static Web Apps with Blazor.
That's right. And we actually use this at .NET Conf. So
I think you are officially a .NET developer.
Really?
You can't pretend anymore.
Can I get like a shirt or something?
You're a very false. You won't get a shirt, but you'll get a bucket hat, I believe, as a speaker.
Really? Chat, is that true? Do you accept me? Yep.
I mean,
can we ask, is this a democracy?
You have video evidence of being a .NET developer. I think.
Chat, let me know
you can put that on your LinkedIn. I'll endorse you.
Oh, really? Okay. That I know .NET. All right. Then you'll be responsible for all the terrible code I write somewhere. All right.
Hello to Nigeria. It's so cool to see people from all around the world.
Oh, I know. I love it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Okay, local conf. That works. That's all right.
Local, yeah.
Okay. What do you got?
Let's jump over to. So what we're doing today is we're going to handle all this because this doesn't currently do anything, and the desired behavior is this, and then you log in. Okay, so we're going to wire all of that up today. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make some changes to how this application runs, and the reason why is because we're about to get into some very static web apps specific features. And as we do that, it's going to be very difficult for us to build the parts of our application that rely on these specific features. One of those is authentication and login. And so because of that, we need to change the way that our app runs and incorporate what's called the static web apps CLI, which is going to mock for us the environment that our application will run in production, which allows us to do things like test authentication. That's
a big deal.
Amazing. Yeah, it's so cool. And so what we need to do here.
Let's talk about, so our authentication is API, like there's the server side authentic, because we're hosting with static web apps, it'll handle authentication for us. We can basically turn on, I forget if it's still called easy auth, but we can basically click a thing and say, make it authenticated, right? But then to test
we don't have to turn anything on, actually. There's nothing to turn on. Yeah, you just hit the endpoints and you can log in with social providers. Now, and we'll talk about this, but in the case of our app, chat, we actually don't care what role people are, right? All we want to do is authenticate them so that we can store their data their lists along with their username. So when they come back, they have their lists, right? So for us, it's pretty simple. We don't have an admin dashboard or anything like that. We could, and it does handle roles, but we don't need to do that at this moment, which makes this easier.
Yeah.
So if we go into, so first of all, the static web app CLI, let's open up. So I have the front end and the API running. The CLI is this right here. It's just SWA. You can install it. I think it's from NPM, and it's like Azure Static Web Apps CLI, literally like that. And so how do you clear in PowerShell? How do you clear the line? It's not Control L.
I don't know, honestly.
What?
Does that work?
No, it does not work. It does in Linux. Right.
Wow.
Chat, how do I clear the line in PowerShell?
Yep. And while we're taking that, I want to take this real quick question here. Okay. So with .NET 8, it feels like Microsoft wants to push Blazor for everything web. What's the future? Progressively move to Blazor or stay on MVC or Razor? And so this is a really good question. And I feel like this was something where we intentionally lined up a session on the second day called in .NET 8, ASP.NET 8. And it was like all the other ASP.NET stuff, like all the middleware and all the performance and all the stuff. But I think my take on this generally is that MVC and Razor pages are kind of like the model is like kind of here it is. Like there's some new things they're adding in for like binding and authentication and stuff like that. But the general like hosting model is kind of like solved, and stuff doesn't need to be changed around too much. So I feel like it's if you're doing server-side rendering, which a lot of web apps should be, if you're like rendering HTML on the server, then Razor pages or MVC, like they work great. Yeah. Okay. So that's the answer there.
Yeah, it's escape or Control A.
Control A. I haven't seen that.
No, that just highlights it.
Yeah. Okay. So
but Control backspace and escape's probably the easiest. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So blah 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 blah.
It's funny once you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's escape. Like I do that all the time. I just don't know. My fingers do it. I don't think about it.
Yeah, subconscious. That's how good you are. All right. So we're gonna change the API prefix here, and the reason why is because we want to go through. We want to let the CLI handle all of this for us. We don't want the application to do that. So to change this, we need to go to our development settings and change this to the CLI, which will run on port 4280. Now, you wouldn't know that unless you ran the CLI, but I've done it enough times that I just know that off the top of my head. So what we want to do now is we want to start the client. We're going to restart it. And then we're going to go. I'm actually not going to start the CLI. I'm the API rather. I'm going to let the CLI handle that. So we're going to do SWA start, and then we're going to give it a location of our front end, which is 5,000. And then we're going to give it the location of the API folder in our project. And it will automatically start and manage the functions for us. Now, we don't have to do that. We could start the API. I'm just doing it that way because that's how I do it.
Yeah, well, it's nice that you can run them separately. Like it's like a functions project, and you can just run it. But running this is like this kind of like at a higher level, right? You're able to
yeah, exactly. It's managing things. So you can see here, it's running at 4280. So let's visit that.
Wow.
And we should get our Blazor app. Okay, see, we're on 4280 now. So if we wanted to log in here, we could just do auth login Twitter, okay? And when I do that, it's gonna send us to this emulated login page, which is what people will actually see when they go to static web apps. Actually,
this is so cool because this is running locally on your machine.
Right, exactly, right? And so we can
if you didn't know better, you'd think, oh, this is an Azure hosted page. Yeah.
Right. And so here, right, we can choose our username. I want to log in here. And then you can see, though, nothing has really changed. But now if we hit this endpoint, this .auth/me, we're going to get back this thing here. Okay, so this is called the client principal. So we can see that we're logged in now, right? We're logged in. And it gives us, this is the information we have, is that the provider and the user details. That's really it, right? And if we were building a role-based authentication, like a dashboard or something, we could use this.
Now, one thing, you are now a certified .NET developer, but nothing you're doing right here is .NET specific, right?
It is not.
You've used this before on JavaScript apps or whatever.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same.
You run that SWA command and it does this for you.
Exactly. So what we need to do here is we need to call this me endpoint, which will tell us whether or not we're logged in. Right? And we need to do that every single time the application is called so that we know if we're logged in. So the best place to do this is probably in our main layout, because this main layout is going to get hit every single time the application is loaded. Doesn't matter what page people go to. So here, we're going to do it on initialize, but I don't think we're going to do it like that. But we do need a class for our user, because we're going to reuse this on the server side. So let's do a new user here. And then we need the properties from, and actually.
Okay, can you, let's try co-piloting it in the user class.
Yeah, I'm just going to create the file from here so I can get like the C# dev kit help.
Right.
There we go. Yeah.
I just like saying, create a user with the following properties, and it just like does it.
Oh, yeah. So we could try that. Let's see here. To know what those are. So they are user ID, user roles, claims.
Are the user roles just going to be stored as strings or like an enum or something?
I don't remember how I did it before. We'll refer to that here in a second. Let's see what Copilot gives us here.
Okay. I like the kind of, yep. So it's got getters, setters, all that. Yeah.
Namespace, but I want to do the new namespace.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Blazor app. Is it Blazor app? I forget now. Yeah, it is. Okay.
It is.
Okay,
so that last brace on line 14.
Oh, I can. Yeah, thank you. So user ID is definitely a string. User roles is definitely a list of strings.
Mm-hmm.
Claims, there's nothing there. So I need to go back here and cheat a little bit and see how I did this. So give me a second. I'm going to go.
While you're doing that, we have a question here. We could also have given it JSON and created a class. I feel like in this case, Copilot did it pretty quick. That's what I've done in the past, so I'll take a big paste. And I know in Visual Studio, there's paste convert JSON to C# class. And I've also used some websites that have some other options. I'm sure there's some pretty good vscode extensions for that too, or add-ins, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I did it before, user roles was an IEnumerable, which I don't think this matters. It doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't really matter, but yeah, I might as well.
And
they
then
tell you to use
claims,
interfaces when you can.
Claims we just completely left off because we're not using it. And then the other things were string, string, string. Okay, yeah. However, what I did was I called this client principal. And then we have another class. So we're going to proceed down this route. And then we have another class called user.
Can I interrupt you with an opinion question here?
Yes.
Would you manage users in an enterprise application the same way?
With static web apps?
Yeah. I mean, I guess here, part of the answer is we're using social auth to log in, right?
Yes. So in the case of an enterprise app, I would use Active Directory authentication, which is something that you have to configure in static web apps. And I'm pretty sure that's not a free feature. But I would point it at my Active Directory.
Yeah, that's more enterprisey. But then you're managing a user, and you can, at a higher level, you can say this user has rights to all of our accounting applications or whatever.
Right, and you want to handle that login from Active Directory, but it still is fairly simple. You just point into your Active Directory instance and rock on.
Cool.
All right, so our client principal here, we've got this, and then our user file, we want to have our client principal.
Okay.
I think.
That's yeah. There's a lot of good. Once you get into auth, there's so many options. Key cloak's another thing. Yeah.
I'll show you how I did this, and there's probably better ways, but I wanted this like fields because I need a Boolean.
Well, that's kind of interesting there. If you have a principal.
Work. Okay. So we need one more class. And that class is, in order to serialize this JSON correctly, client principal is actually the first property, right? It's not the top level item because it's JSON. So we actually need like a wrapper here.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better way to do this.
Yeah, so there's a few different APIs for this. I mean, again, this is another thing I would lean on. Last time I had to deserialize JSON, I just was like, Copilot, please deserialize this JSON file.
Okay. So then we're now ready to call this thing. Let's go to our main layout. What we want to do is before we implement the actual login flow, we're just going to check the me endpoint, which will return the client principal if the user is logged in. If they are not logged in, it will just return an empty client principal. Yeah. So let's do call the auth me endpoint and serialize result to user to client principal wrapper class. Here we go. Return result. All right, so we need to call this. Call the get client principal async method get user details on initialized. Is that what it is? Okay. And then the result's going to give us a client principal wrapper. So then we want to say is like our user equals and print. Where's the? It doesn't know about this class. Oh,
do you have to
need?
Oh.
Still doesn't know. Why not? It's a class, right?
You have the tab open. Yeah.
It's like the IntelliSense doesn't know.
Uh-oh.
What we do in this.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I have to give a plug here. So Howard, being very awesome, trying out Aspire just now. If you get any crashes, please let us file an issue, ping us, even bug Fowler on Twitter, whatever it is, but let us know, because that's the only way we get this stuff fixed. You may have some different thing set up on your machine, some different build or whatever that we don't. Is this technology using any cookies? It does set a cookie,
Yes.
doesn't it? An auth
Yes,
cookie.
it is. Yes, it is. This, because that's a great question.
Yeah. There's a funny story I got to share, by the way, while you're doing this. The people with the Aspire demos were working on the Aspire demos. Then I was talking to Scott Hunter, and he was telling me the night before his demo, nothing was working. And he was like, what's wrong? All these NuGet feeds are failing. He talked to the devs, and they're like, everything's working for us. And then they troubleshoot it. And basically, the devs had cached NuGet packages on their machines from when the feeds were working like a week earlier. And so all the builds still worked. But when Hunter tried to go out and run it, like the NuGet package was like no longer available because they'd switched over from internal to public feeds or whatever.
The hardest thing is in computer science.
Computer thing. Yes, exactly. So he's like, clear your NuGet cache and do a build and tell me how well it's working. And they're like, oh.
All right. So here's your cookie.
There you go.
It's literally called static web auth cookie.
Nice.
All right. So what is this? Oh, we need to inject. Yeah, but I don't want it to be called. It's not called that in other places. What's it called in like? Yeah, it's just that. So Copilot's not quite right. It's not quite right. Use Chase here. So here we want to do, I think, to just be HTTP, right?
Is that what your client's called?
Does not contain a definition for get JSON async. Well, what does it contain a definition for?
Is it HTTP client or factory?
Is get async? No, it's get JSON async, right?
There's get and deserialized JSON async.
What it is?
Yeah, this is weird though that you're not getting the IntelliSense on that.
Get from JSON async.
From seems redundant there, really. It's like get. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Now result got. Well, the result is a client principal wrapper, which has a client principal. Oh no! Wait a minute. What is this? What is the result going to be? Client principal wrapper.
Yeah. So now you got to get the result dot. Did you expose the?
I did, right? Let's see. Oh, I'm missing a very important, aren't I?
Gets me every time.
There we go. It's inaccessible. I did it again. Oh, man.
Okay.
I changed that. I fixed that. Result possibly could be null, so let's check. It is right about that. So
you could do question dot, or oh yeah, you could, yeah.
Easy. If
so, it's a question on the cookie thing. So then, because it's using cookies, if you open the tab, if you open a second browser tab, you're going to be logged in there, right? Which is kind of a nice feature. You can open the app in a few tabs.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Because it's using a cookie, you can open it in more than one tab.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And if you come back in a different tab, different browser session, right, it still knows. It doesn't validate after a while though, right? Yeah. And so at some point, it will just return null because your login's no longer valid and you'll have to log in again.
Yep.
It's true for every site.
Yeah.
All right. Here, we don't want this. We just want to set. Wait a minute. We don't want to do any of this here. Do we? We do. User client principal. We just don't want to actually return anything. There's no point in this right here. Okay, simple, right?
All right.
You need to say, do I need to do like this or something? Why is this barking at me?
Yeah.
No?
Well, no, it's if you do var, it's like what I would do instead is that result.client principal, you can do result question dot. The line
Here.
below, line 23.
There we go.
I don't
And
know.
we don't actually want to return anything. I think it's just like this, right? We don't want.
So if it's async, you can do public async void, no task.
Okay. And then here, what's wrong with you? Cannot await a void?
So since you're doing, yeah, I don't know.
We don't want to await it anyway, right?
You just get all the async bubbling issues. You could do async, and then instead of a task, you're supposed to return something else, which my brain is not working for today. Instead of public async void, you should do public. I don't know. Embarrassing.
The thing is, like, I don't want it to hold up the rendering of the page. Will that happen here?
No, it won't.
Will it block?
I mean, that's the point of async.
But it's not. Oh, it is async here.
Yeah. So let's fix it the right way. I took you down the wrong path. Instead of async void, I think you're supposed to do chat. What are we missing here? I'm like, my brain is not working today. I think you do want to do public async on initialized.
Okay.
Yeah, and then get client principal should return task. So you were right, and I was taking you down the wrong road. Task, and then you await on line 15.
Okay,
there we're back. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so assuming this works.
Yeah. Okay.
We didn't get an error. That's good. Let's check our network here.
Line 13 should be void, not task. Interesting. Well, let's see.
I think we may have to. Yeah, it's not calling this, so I think we may have to restart the client. Oh, yeah. Another victim of a rude edit.
Rude edit.
Now we're calling it.
Okay.
Look at that. Okay, cool. We're close. So then what we want to do here is pass this user object to our nav bar. So we should probably store this in the state. Okay, because we're going to use this user another.
Yeah. This is one place where storing the state makes sense to me.
So we're going to have a link bundle, app is busy, I must have done this and checked this in because we haven't done this yet. Just ignore that. Private user. I do user. Does that work? Can I do like, is this a thing? Do this in C#? Should you do this?
I was muted. I always do lowercase, like uppercase is the type and lowercase is the instance.
So I've got these backwards. Because in the state, we need to split the variable in the setter and the getter because we need to do this. We need to set the user, and then we need to do notify state changed. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Thank you. All right, so assuming this works, we're going to set our user. We need our state container, don't we? Music too loud, chat? Curious.
It's a little loud, but it's peppy.
Okay. And then here, I don't actually need this. What we want to do is setting the state container value. And then I'm pretty sure because we're doing this async, we have to do this.
I kind of feel like state has changed is like going way back to my VB days, do events. Like it doesn't really hurt if you call it too much. You know what I mean? Like just sprinkle it in there just in case.
I don't ever know when to call it. And let me see how I did this before just to save us some pain. But I did. It's not a page. It's not a page. It's a. Oh, so I passed logged in because the problem that I ran into is that it wasn't updating and I couldn't figure out why. And so I passed logged in, and then in the nav bar, I think I referenced the state container. I do. Yeah, okay. So let's get a
we have a good question here. We have will there be a GitHub link for this? I'm happy to say yes, we've been doing this all open source. We're still happy. Any pull requests, any issues, try it out. We're pushing the code every week, usually. Okay, logged in. So you've got private string logged in equals Boolean false. Do you mean that to be a bool or a string?
Sorry, thank you. And then we're going to pass how did I determine this before? What we're going to do is so I check the client principal, and if it's null, I just return. Otherwise, I set the state container and then logged into true. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. So here, wrapper.client principal equals null, which is the same. I'm going to reverse it.
Gotcha. Among the questions I have is if we're abusing the state container. I don't think we are. I think this is how you build client side. I just like, to me, it feels like global state, but you're like, I've been told is bad, but it's not really necessarily. I mean, I don't know.
In JavaScript applications, this is exactly how you do this.
That's
right?
The pattern, right?
Yes, that is the pattern. Now, we could argue about whether or not it's a good pattern. I think some people would. But if you don't do this, what you're going to have is all of your state in like a top level component, and you're just going to have it all cascading down. And that's a real nightmare. Okay. However, I can tell you that VS Code, like as an application, which is written in TypeScript, does not do this. I'm not saying it doesn't have a global state, but it doesn't, components don't communicate this way. They pass events, right? So they just emit an event, and then components listen to that event and they take action, which I actually think is a better pattern. We might call that like a pub sub, publish, subscribe.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll have different religious views.
And a lot of that is scale, right? There's a lot of code in VS Code. And so it's like, you know what I mean? Like the patterns that work in one app are different.
Yeah, your state container would just be, can you even imagine what that would look like? All right. Navbar, we need a parameter for is logged in.
Oh, that's exciting.
Copilot, do you know? No. It does have to be, I think it does have to be public, logged in. Okay, and then we need to decide.
Let
me go back
here.
here.
A commented out thing in the nav below.
Do I? Yeah, that's the login modal. So we're not actually there yet. We'll get there in a second. So here we have to conditionally show some stuff. And so just to make this easier, I'm going to copy this in and then we're going to talk about it. We're gonna do this. Did we get the modal login? We don't have the modal login. Okay. So we'll hold that tight for a second. So what we're doing here is we're saying that if the user is logged in, then we want to show this thing that has their profile image, and we want to show the logout, right? If it's not, then we don't want to show the logout.
Does it? And does the login stuff handle the profile image for them too? Like that's part of the social login stuff, or do we need to pass that stuff around?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The profile image, is that provided by?
Oh, no. So that's one of the things we're going to have to deal with, is that there's no longer a profile image. That used to be passed by the auth from Twitter, and it's not passed anymore. So is toggle menu not there? Toggle menu is there. What's your problem? Yes, it does. It's not lying to me.
Is the private? Reload. Nothing a reload won't fix.
Is it going to come back? Maybe. All right. Parse the page, please.
Come on.
All right. I assume it likes this. So let's do this. Toggle menu does not exist. It does exist. What? Private void toggle menu. It's literally the same code.
Is it capitalization? You have uppercase.
Oh yeah. Dang, that was a good catch, man.
Ooh. I saw it exactly the same time Jacob and Nathan did. So
nice
all
job.
3 of us.
Nice job. Okay, so all of this is done. Are we still running over here? We're running. Okay, so now we're gonna refresh, and we're still seeing happened here. You call me? Call me. We should be logged in though, shouldn't we? We are logged in. So what's the deal? This is the problem that I had before, where it just wasn't updating. Why am I doing this? You don't have to do that, right?
On, what is that? On?
Yeah, so we do have to call this. See?
Status changed. I like somebody earlier was saying they just sprinkle a bunch of status change in and then remove them until the app breaks.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
You know, that's something, there's analyzers in C#, and I wish that it had analyzers that would tell me this status changed is unnecessary or this one is necessary or something.
Exactly. Although it's still not updating.
Jacob said you didn't set logged in to true.
I didn't?
Well,
oh, man. How does he do it? How does he do it? There we go. Okay, so
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, and we have a log out. So now we just need to handle some of this login stuff here.
Yeah, the magic happens part.
Yes. And you can see I've changed this because we don't have a profile image anymore. So I just made it like, because I don't know what else to do here.
Well, yeah. Some providers will provide an image, right? We'll get like GitHub and so, and we're going to handle auth from a few providers, not just Twitter, right?
No, they won't provide it.
Okay.
You just don't get it anymore. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do here. We can show, so here's the profile image. So we could show, like, I think we can do, connotainer is not a thing. What? Am I not injecting the state container? I'm not. Let's do that. We're going to need that.
So Gravatar, we don't have an email address for a person though, do we?
We don't. Right, so, that's GDPR stuff. We don't want to touch that.
This is like eventually someday you could allow a user to set their image, or we could do some hacky stuff. But really, all I need to know is am I logged in or not? You know what I mean? I know what I look like.
I think we can do this, right? And so we could mess with this.
Wow.
To get this right. But I don't know that we want to see this.
I would show that more as like a tooltip on hover or something. Because if it's
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take this out for now. We're just not going to show this at all. So let's handle our.
I mean, it would be super easy, right? On the image, just do an alt. Alt equals that exact thing, right? I mean, you did all the work to pull the data. You might as well.
I mean, this is true. Please something for me. Tired of typing. Come on, man. There we go.
Nice. Oh, Ray's right. We could say like hi Ray or something like that too.
But then it shows because the image is
broken. There's no image.
There's no image. So instead, I'm doing. So we can actually we can do the alt. It's not alt. It's
title or
I think it's title. But titles in browsers are not great.
Yeah.
Actually, I just want to get
Should
rid of
that image be gotten rid of then?
We get rid of this altogether.
Yeah.
Still work, right? Yeah, and then we mouse over. Yeah, it tells us there.
I mean, that's kind of nice. We can tweak it more, but I mean, that's good.
We can also put it in the log out menu. You know, like you have log out here, and then we could do
the username, log out, whatever.
Yeah, you could just do like maybe like an HR. It doesn't look good, but we can fix it. Anyway, let's not mess with this. Doesn't matter. All right, so now we want to log out. So logout's pretty easy. You can see it here. We just go to /auth/logout. You can only be logged in with one provider at a time, so it doesn't really matter. Right? There's no like log me out of Twitter. It's just log me out.
It just logs you out of the whole app.
Right. It doesn't matter what provider you used.
And
so
that handles clearing the cookie and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. So now when it reloads, we just see login, right? We don't actually, because we're not logged in anymore. When we call me, what do we get back? Null.
And when it does that, it doesn't lose all your state. Like the state container is still good, right? Or
well, what do you mean? Like, well, no, the user's gone.
Okay. The user's gone, but does it reset the whole state container?
It does, yeah, because you've reloaded the application.
Okay.
So at some point in the future, what we want to do is save that state container to local storage and rehydrate it.
Yep.
But we're not quite there yet.
I'm gonna log an issue right now.
All right, so we're gonna create a new component here for the login. Under shared, add new file, a Razor component, modal login. And then because we've already ported this, we're just gonna steal it. So it looks like a lot. We'll copy this in and then we'll talk about it. We're doing things the easy way today. Oof, some Unicode came in there. That was weird. Did y'all see that? So what we're doing here is, let's close this, is that we have a parameter that we pass called isOpen. And then if that is true, then the modal gets showed. That's how we open it, is just by passing this Boolean value. And then, and then it gets shown. This onClick here just closes it, right? So it sets here that it's closed. Now, in order to do that, we have to set that variable, remember, to true or false. And where is that variable passed? It's passed from the nav bar. So you can see right here, show menu, right? So we actually call toggle menu to close it, because if it's open and we call toggle menu, then it's going to set it to false and it's going to close it.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Right. And so to open it, what do? We call toggle menu because it's set to false by default. Right. So we're just handling like weird on clicks.
Do you want to have, so there's two ways to do this. One is you call toggle. The other is where you say like toggle menu and pass.
So I tried this. I did that initially, and then I guess I just decided that the toggle is what you want, right? It's either on or off. If I'm opening it, I'm saying toggle it. I guess it's more explicit to pass the parameter.
I think you're right. I mean, obviously it works. The only time that there's two ways to do it. One is have a toggle that doesn't take a parameter, and the other that does. If you call it twice accidentally somehow, then it toggles on and off or some weird sort of thing. Whereas if you're always explicit.
Oh, that's true. But the thing is, like, toggle menu and then you pass what?
True or false? Or
yeah, but then it's like toggle menu true, toggle menu false.
If it's true, if you did that, then I would rename it to show menu true or show menu false.
Show menu false.
Yeah. I don't think it's a problem now. I'm just saying that's when I've written this bug before, it's been from having one that doesn't take a parameter and just,
Yeah, fair enough. So let's go back to our login here. The current URL, why do I need this? Give me a second. Here's why. When we call the login, the other thing that the login's going to want that we don't have to pass is this post login redirect URI. And we're getting, all this is the URL of the current page. And the reason why we want to do this is that when we return from the login flow, we want to go back to the page where we did it from, right? So for instance, like we could be at any point in the application and say, okay, now I want to log in. And we don't want to take people back to the index page after they log in. So that's all this is doing.
You always hate that when you log into a site and it takes you back to the home page and you're like,
right. No one likes that.
Yeah.
Right. Just take me back to what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else to really explain here. The rest of this is just a port of the HTML, and I didn't really make any changes. I think I did add some classes here. This is not right. Yeah, so all of this comes from, again, this is not new. It's just ported from the existing application. CSS? It's not even an option. Okay. So let's go. I gotta be honest, I really like the CSS isolation, the way Blazor.
It's huge.
It's very cool.
Why is that nesting? I thought it nests them. Maybe that's just in.
Oh, why isn't it nesting?
Oh, you're not in Solution Explorer.
Does it nest in Solution Explorer?
Yeah,
we can make it nest here.
Yeah, well, check it out in Solution Explorer.
Oh yeah, they nested automatically. Yeah. All right.
Interesting. Do you want to take a discussion question?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. James is saying, are server-side generated web apps considered more secure than client-side? So is Blazor server more secure than WebAssembly? I would say it always, Mike, do you want, you go. You
want me to take that one?
Well,
so first of all, let me just say that my understanding of security extends about as far as implementing it with whatever provider I'm working with. In other words, like I trust that static web apps is going to be secure when I implement their auth. Does that make sense? So like the answer is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trusting the provider.
So I feel like in general, if you just yes or no question or whatever, I mean, it always depends, like you're saying. Server-side apps are always, to me, going to be a little bit more like if I had to just pick between, you say, here's a server app and here's a client-side app. Server-side app is going to be a little less likely to accidentally share information on the client for two reasons. One is you're downloading resources to the client. Like, for instance, our Blazor app, the binaries are running on the client. People can look at you can disassemble the code, or if it's a JavaScript app, you can look. So you can see what the logic is and you can try and understand. The other thing is your API calls. Like, and I'm constantly doing this when I'm using the web. I'm like going in my network tools and I'm looking and saying, oh, you're calling this API? What if I did this instead? And so, whereas if you're running a server-side app, I'm not making as many my API calls are server to server, and there's no way on the client to get in there. I'm not saying that server or client-side apps aren't secure or can't be secure. I'm just saying you have to think about some other security questions that you don't have to when you're writing a more server-side app.
Yeah, I think that's certainly true. Maybe in the API, you have to be cognizant of security challenges that you don't have to be on the server.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
a good question.
Yeah, that was a really good question.
Okay. So I think that's all we got to do, provided everything is still running.
Wow, you got Facebook. What all the logins are we doing then? We've got Twitter.
Yeah, so we'll go to static web apps here in a second and see what we've got available. So
yeah,
that's not the one we want. We want this one. Let's say login. It should open our modal now, which it does not. I think maybe because I haven't implemented. Yeah, so let's go back to our nav bar here for a second. I'm saying toggle menu. Oh, you know what it is? It'll work better if we uncomment. Make sure we didn't get a root edit. Toggle modal. It does exist.
Do you need an @ sign?
Show login.
Oh, no, you don't.
I think I need a show menu. I show menu. What is happening?
Yours,
what did I do?
It said show login modal.
Toggle modal, toggle menu, show login modal. Show log. Yeah, okay, so we need a.
Oh.
What was it? Private void, private bool.
Just to go back to something, Anthony has a great point. If you're doing server-side apps, you can get complacent and you can think, you don't necessarily think about things. You know what I mean? When you're writing client-side apps, you're constantly like, all this stuff is down on the client. You can accidentally share state. You can accidentally leave an endpoint open. There's a lot of stuff you can do on the server. You know what I mean? Because you're like, you think, oh, nobody can see my code.
That's a good point. Could make you complacent.
Yep.
I don't know why it's mad about this. Close modal, toggle modal. Oh, you know what it is? I bet you. No, that's not right. Nope. Nope. At you. Let's see here. We got the parameter. We got the close modal. What? Why? It does exist. Guys. Modal login. Current URL. That's right. Navbar error. Toggle modal.
Toggle modal.
Toggle menu. It is missing. It's just completely missing. Compiler's trying to help me. It's like, please, dude, please just look at your code.
You know, that's an area where I think AI could help in the future. Like, because errors, you know, like compiler errors or things like that give you just you missed this thing. It would be neat if there's like a layer on top of that where it's like you missed this thing and then it could like say a little better, you have a very similarly named thing, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
if you catch these little errors that take you so long. Now it's still not working. Why is that, John?
Is it, are you writing to the console? So you have some errors there.
I do. Oh, it's there. 404s on trying to find images.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe
console writes some business.
So we pass is open. Modal login gets set to active is open.
Let's console write out the values of some of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my answer to everything. Either that or Copilot.
It's like nothing is happening when I click this. Oh.
Do you not have it hooked up?
So we're not calling it. Yeah. On click is toggle menu. That's not what we want. We want toggle. This is the nav bar. Where is the button to log in? I gotta find it. Log in here. So we need a click here. Just double check that I'm not doing anything funky there in terms of preventing a default. I'm not. So Google toggle. Okay.
Yay!
So we got some broken links. That's okay.
Okay. We'll fix those images, but now, so does login with Facebook do the thing?
Okay, so
So
we're logging
these
with
let
Twitter.
you fake it. Yeah.
So now we're logged in. Okay, so log out. We're logging in. It's time with Facebook. And now we're logged in with Facebook. And now we can see this My Lists menu item. It doesn't go anywhere, but this My List item is not there when you're logged out. So we're conditionally showing that if you're logged in or logged out. So let's just fix these URLs and then these images, and then we're about done here in terms of implementing login.
I mean, yeah, but I still want to throw in GitHub just because that was promised GitHub.
You want to do that? Okay. Yeah. We can do that.
I trust Copilot to write this whole thing for us.
It probably will. Where is... There's the log out. Oh, it's in the modal login. Modal. Sorry. Okay. So Facebook button. And we need like a break between these two things. Okay. And then what? And then actually, to be like semantically correct, there we go. And then
go Copilot, go.
Yeah, see, it gets it all. It gets it all. Provided it didn't write a bunch of like markup I didn't want.
Odd. Okay, well, never mind.
That's not what I want, but I do. There is like
you know, that's part of why that like thing where it does the like diff view is cool. But sometimes I just like to write have it autocomplete. Okay, that's nice. Hey, Luce, nice to see you.
We got one. So we do need to add a class,
mm-hmm.
Or excuse me, we need to add the coloring to the button. So we're going to do that in the CSS here.
Yeah.
And I think
it's going to do it for us.
So
yeah. Oh, that was GitHub though, or Google.
So look at what's nuts is that like it knows what the background color of the GitHub button should be. Do you see that? Is that crazy? All right.
What about should we do Google while we're at it?
And there we go.
Yeah.
Does it know? It knows. Okay. So then I wonder if I can do this. I'm ready for the day when LLMs are a little faster.
Yeah. That seems good, right?
I think that is right.
And then paste back in the GitHub button.
Yeah, what is this icon modal content? I'm just making sure because I'm seeing some markup that I don't recognize. Okay. Does it work?
Well.
What the heck happened?
I broke it.
What on earth happened?
Did the layout, did the brakes push it off the side?
No, they shouldn't.
It seems like something made the width too wide now.
Like Well, I don't know what this image is. This is not a thing.
Oh.
So it kind of messed this up a whole lot.
Oh, okay.
So this would be FAB, FA, Google, just copying an icon. Like these classes aren't actually used. This GitHub icon, this is not used. Facebook icon, not used.
Okay. Oh, weird.
What happened?
This is fascinating.
It's like none of these classes are Twitter button, Facebook button, GitHub button.
So those are ID. They're class. So those are ID based. ID
right?
based. Yeah,
because each one of them is a different color. There's only one.
Yeah. Okay. GitHub icon. Are they spelled right? See, the top ones say get Twitter icon. The lower ones say Facebook button.
It says Twitter button.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Button, 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 button. Why is this happening to us?
Right, let's look at the CSS. Let's inspect the elements.
ID is Twitter button.
You have GitHub button and code. So capital H in hub for GitHub is different between the CSS and the code.
Oh, so yeah, that is true. But it shouldn't work. What about the rest of these? Like this was working just fine. And it's like the CSS is just gone. Did the CSS get messed up somehow?
No. I mean, you can delete that and see what happens. This is fascinating.
It's not updating.
We have 12 minutes. Should we stop and start it? Is it the?
Yeah, let's try that.
It's not rebuilding CSS.
Yeah, I bet you that's what it is. Of course, I do want this stuff in here now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Where's background color white being set?
Oh, boom, there it is. Okay, so where's it being set? It's being set in, that's a Bulma class. That's our CSS framework.
So let's fix line 9 in the CSS. It should be Github. Yep. Okay.
Wait, I just got to get my images. This will be quick. Just bear with me. Like, no.
Burke, my day is flying by. It's amazing. First of all, I'm watching you code and you're doing amazing things. Secondly, I thought I was going to be chopping up a 45 gigabyte, 24-hour day 3 .NET Conf file. Studios was like, no, we got it.
Dude.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Studio.
They're pretty great.
Now we need the logo.
The DevRel Studio is just so amazing. They just do so much. They're so pro and they like roll with things. I can't say enough good stuff about them.
So now in my downloads.
Yeah.
In the W root, in the images. I'm gonna pull all this in.
Yeah, Massimo is saying sometimes hot reload doesn't update CSS or JavaScript. I think, it's just complicated. I think it's all file watchers and knowing when to restart and rebuild, and sometimes it doesn't catch stuff. Keeps getting better, but yeah, there's some complicated things. Okay. Get those images on. Wow.
We're done. Look, if we click on the
well, like, okay, so is it going to work in production?
What do you mean it's going to work in production?
I don't know.
I don't know. You're asking too much of me.
Yeah.
Look, it works here. Look, the providers work.
Okay.
Come on, chat. Don't act like you're not impressed.
So the next step would be we should create a pull request, because then I don't know if the pull request environment will work for all this crazy stuff.
For the login? It should.
Yeah, it should, huh?
Yeah, I think so. All right. All right, Copilot, what did I do? You tell me.
Wow. Okay.
Pull request.
Publish branch. Publish that branch.
Oh, yeah, I got to publish it. Thank you. Pull request. So that's weird. I don't know why it does that. I'm going to have it do this again.
Yeah. Burke, are you a turkey cooking person?
Wow, look at that. Implement user authentication update UI.
Okay, nice.
Pull request introduces user auth, including a login modal, state management for user information, have been updated to reflect these changes. New images have been added and app settings updated. The CSS for the login modal has also been created. Man, that's pretty good.
That's an insta merge for me. Okay. So what's cool then is it's going to create the staging environment. Once you create the pull, oh no, don't merge that pull request.
You don't trust me?
I can merge away. I don't care. But it is really cool that it does this. It creates that staging environment for us and deploys it out, builds.
Man, I have not been to the production environment in quite some time.
It should put it in the static web app CI thing, the build and deploy.
It's been building just fine, so
yeah. Yeah, I love that about being able to and it's similar to like Azure, like slots feature in Azure Static or Azure websites or apps, whatever it's called, app service. But it's like does some special stuff here, like the way it kind of deploys everything out. It's really nice how it integrates with the pull requests.
Yeah, I didn't even know how this works. I mean, I know it's in the action, but
yeah,
all that gets created for you when you initialize the. It's all here. But you don't have to worry about this, which you shouldn't.
Yeah, it's just magic. Build. The other thing you can do if you're getting bored, you can click on it and you can watch the status. It's very exciting. If you're like, why isn't it working hard? Then you can see it's actually doing things.
Oh, let's go. Speed it up.
Oh,
here we go.
Here, I'll put us in the upper right. There we go.
Finished
in progress.
Polling.
Finished upload.
Says it's ready.
Okay, let's see this.
Doesn't work in production.
Moment of truth. Grant consent.
Will it take me back? Yes.
Oh my
I
God.
told you. Look at that. The emulator is so good.
Mouse over yourself. I want to see
What?
your username. Mouse over that little image.
There it is.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is a great way to wrap up a pretty amazing week. So we can actually, let's go into our project board because we have some stuff to move along.
Okay.
I think we can merge this pull request, right?
Oh yeah. This is the best pull request of all pull requests.
Yeah. Originate. And then we can go into the project and we can cross some items off. So reminder to people, this is out on GitHub. You get a little bored, you want to write some code, jump on in. Pull requests, definitely welcome. So I think that implement auth login, you can move from up next to done.
Sorry, I was just like, look, upgrade to .NET 8 is on there.
Oh,
you added that.
While we were talking.
Yes, this is done. Also, we finished the edit page UI pretty much.
Yep. I do want to finish up my tests. I'm going to have to roll back what I did before, but I'm happy to do it. I've learned some lessons.
So let me add some items here. We need to implement my lists page. What else?
So there's the link item and link details component. Are those done? Those are at the top of that to-do list there.
Yes. Yes, they are.
All right.
So we need to also this isn't done. Save lists. This is like, I feel like I should prefix this too with like, how do you edit this thing?
You click on the thing.
Oh, you click on it. So like we should do like this.
Oh yeah, or we can add labels to them too.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. Yeah, that works.
Like this is some of the API stuff I need you to work on over Christmas.
Yeah, I know, right?
How do you add a label to the thing? This is not a, I don't like this.
It's a little confusing.
Up next status. We need to make new labels.
You convert to an issue if you want to do more stuff with it. These are not technically issues. They're like project things. I don't know. All right. Well, we have done quite a bit. I think we can celebrate some success there. That login thing was a big deal. Now we've got, I don't know if we added it to it, but we do need to now implement that auth on the server side too, right?
We do. Yeah. So we need to, and this is not that hard to do because we've already created that client principal class. And so what we're going to basically do is just pass that HTTP request from the client into that class and see if it's there. And a static web apps is going to handle that on the server side of translating that and actually making sure that works. It'll be a header that we pass. And so that'll work.
I have one question for you because I do actually intend to write some of this code on the server side. Now at the user level, what is the user that we're associating? Because you can log in with multiple different things, right? Do you have a username or do you have what are we associating you with? That's going to be a question to solve too, right?
I mean, the easiest thing would be the username.
But it's a little confusing because I could go register Burke Holland on GitHub if you didn't have one, or I could, you know what I mean? Like, so then there's a provider and username.
There's provider and username, maybe?
Yeah. It's a thing to think about.
Yeah, it is. All right.
This is wonderful. For those who have next week off, which is many, have a great next week. We will not be streaming next week. But have some fun, catch up. We've got lots of videos, Ignite, .NET Conf, lots of stuff. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, chat. Have a good weekend.